I am really excited for our first session because I came to this event planning to leave with new friends, and I have to tell you, just to be honest, as we were miking up, 2 of these new friends, they're coming out here, okay? The leaders of this session have impressive backgrounds and truly affect people's lives for the better. Brenda Jimenez joins us from New York of the affiliate Mentor, one of Marshall's nonprofit partners that works to increase the quality and quantity of mentor relationships for young people. She serves as the CEO of New York's, partnering with organizations across the city to foster positive mentor relationships to help young people reach their potential. Brenda has a long history of commitment to uplifting women and empowering the community. Okay, joining her is Rebeca Huffman, who has been a longtime national and local leader for education, equity, and access. Those are all really strong words and powerful. She is the founder of her consulting practice, RNH Consulting, and has served as the Chicago's Community at-Risk student and as the CEO of the Hispanic Council for Reform and Education. She believes she was put on the earth to empower. Please welcome them both out. Let's give them a warm applause.
Hello, good morning.
Buenos dias.
Yes, good morning. I am
lovely
so excited to be here today. My name is Brenda Jimenez. As you heard, I'm the CEO of Mentor New York. It gives me great joy to be here today. And I'm here with my new friends.
Rebeca Huffman. It is a joy to be here. Y'all look good today.
For real.
For a Saturday morning. Yes. But in the intro, as mentioned, I'm a 20-plus year nonprofit executive turned consultant and social media influencer. And it is a joy to discuss a really important topic for women in particular here today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Something that's my life's work and really close to my heart, mentoring. And we'll be talking about sort of how do we navigate this world around us and really find meaningful relationships, mentoring relationships that feel empowered and sort of drive the power of our beings. All right? So let's get into it. You're extremely impressive.
Thank you.
Your background is something to behold. And so as we're talking about the journey of getting to places, arriving to success, we know that it's really important to have mentoring relationships in our lives. And so when you think about your personal and professional journey, tell me a little bit about one of your first mentoring relationships and how did you find and develop that connection?
You know, Brenda, what's funny is that I was 16 years old. I didn't know about the vernacular or vocabulary of mentor. I was just on a path to try to be the first in my familia to attend and graduate college, and I was at church, and I met my very first mentor, Mary Santana, and y'all, she happens to be here, sitting in the front row. Give it up for Mary! I always try to be everybody's hype woman. But, and Mary and I met, and she just took an interest, we've got good intuition, ladies. We can feel when someone is approaching us with good intention. And she really took an interest in my professional development, my career aspirations, as well as my spiritual development. We met at church. And Mary's what I like to call a lifetime mentor. So, yeah.
Well, first, let's give Mary a round of applause. The biggest gift that you can do is show up for someone and be a mentor, and even today you show up. So you show the first lesson of powerful mentoring, which is consistency, showing up. And then there's this other piece about sort of like having someone see you, right? And so talk to me a little bit about, or share a story. I'm sure you have really a lot of stories about a time when a mentor actually helped you sort of find the unexpected, opportunity or created a catalyst for you that you otherwise didn't see for yourself?
Yeah, so I was in this point of my education journey where I had just finished 2 years of community college, and I was looking at that price tag for transferring to a 4-year college or university. And, you know, my parents meant really well. They were like, we want you to go to college. We want you to have that. vaya con Dios. Yes. And I'm just like, it's really expensive though, you know? And I just knew I was on my own. Like I had to figure out a way to finance it. And I found out about this incredible scholarship program that was kind of in the area of my career interests, my future career interests. And I asked Mary to write a letter of recommendation. Talk about a ripple effect, Brenda, because not only did I get into that scholarship program, which helped finance my remaining 2 years of college, but honey, that's where I met my husband.
So you BA and MRS, you really did it.
Yes. And so, yeah, talk about that ripple effect. So there's that. There's also just along the way, because, you know, we've known each other for 30 plus years, and, you know, and unexpected opportunities like being able to meet Lin-Manuel Miranda because her mentor happens to be his father, you know. And so, and just to give her flowers, she's the CEO and founder of a phenomenal arts program for inner city youth in theater and performance. And before In the Heights was a movie, they were doing a youth theater performance of In the Heights. And so just, you know, she's just been such a great advisor, navigator throughout my career. I'll never forget when I had imposter syndrome in the beginning of my career. So, I mean, it still shows up. It rears its ugly head. So don't get the expectation that, when, you know, as years go by, it's just going to go away. It dissipates. Mm-hmm. I know it rears its ugly head, but in my first national CEO role, at the age of 27, at the National Press Club, having to do a press conference, and I'll never forget when we were backstage and you prayed over me. And that prayer, just like, and that little, you know, boost of confidence you gave me with the pep talk, I was like, okay, I got this. And so just phenomenal opportunities as you nurture that relationship.
Yeah, and I love the story and the example and how Mary has consistently been part of your life, mm-hmm. but she's also done this amazing thing, which is to give you access.
Yes.
Right? And that's the difference between any other relationship you have in your mentoring relationships. It's not that just that you're fostering this relationship that informs you, but it's also one that gives you access, yes. right? And to see the possibilities for yourself that you don't see for yourself, and then cheering you on when you're doing it, and that imposter syndrome, that fear, that anxiety we were just talking about, yeah. Can I do this, kicks in, that you have a whole cheerleading squad to say, oh no, that can't take up space right now because you have things to do, right? And so when we talk about this imposter syndrome and, you know, having a mentor, knowing the people you know, one of my favorite things that people always tell me is like, well, Brenda, you have to network to know more people. Social capital is really important in your career. You have to have more than one mentor, right? But networking is sort of this nuanced, you know, difficult thing to do. Walk into a room and talk to strangers, hurrah, and then make some type of relationship happen out of that.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about how you approach people that you've never met when you know that you have to fill in the gaps in your life with some type of mentoring relationship that propels something new forward for you. How do you go about doing something like that?
You know, there's this term that we hear a lot in my family, and it's called threads of familiarity.
Okay.
It does not matter how different you think someone is from you. I bet money that there is something that you might have in common with them. And so, for instance, when I've had to raise, my last leadership gig was running City of Chicago and $12 million budget. And there were many times where I had to meet with donors that on paper, I looked at them like, I don't have nothing in common with this, 55-year-old, white man from Winnetka. I just don't. I grew up in Humboldt Park, and first-generation college grad. Like, how in the world, where is that thread of familiarity?
Right.
You do your research on that person. You find out what boards they're sitting on. Maybe there's some people that you know on that board that knows this person. You do what I call relationship mapping. And I pick up the phone. Oye, excuse me, what do you know about this person? Tell me.
That's right. Uh-huh.
And if it's even something as simple as their son or daughter is attending your alma mater at college, bring that up in the meeting. Bring up that thread of familiarity. And the way that relationship just starts to evolve, and then that imposter syndrome starts to take a back seat because you feel that energy shift, you know, when you're sitting down and meeting that person for the very first time. So that's how I've handled it, is just try to find out what that thing that you might have in common might be, and just organically try to develop that relationship.
I really love that, because I think one of the things when we're training mentors and we're even training mentees that I often say, and I coined the term, is if you don't show up as a curious learner, don't show up.
That's right.
Right? And so one of the things that you are really exhibiting through that relationship mapping and the harnessing of the questions to find familiarity is you're showing up as a curious learner.
That's right.
Because you know that knowing, right, and understanding is such an essential part of that relationship building component.
Absolutely.
Which I really appreciate. And I love that you exercise that. And I want you to know that that level of intentionality is really what you have to invest in for yourself. You are being really intentional about what you decide to do to invest in yourself, and I think that that's a really important part of it. Yeah. And so tell me, you said that you ran City Year, right? Yeah. You're a first-gen college student like I am. Yes. I mean, that comes riddled with a lot of fear, obstacles, and realities that you face as a first-gen college student. But leading an organization where you're working with young people, tell me about the power of connecting those young people to finding their own peer mentors, to finding mentors in their life. What is it that you've seen?
Well, what I've seen, especially for first generation, anything, whether it's college graduate, first to start your business, first to own your own home, first to travel internet, whatever that first is that it's just so important to just recognize that we don't have a choice as first geners. We have to network. We have to get out there and push through the social anxiety, push through whatever it is that you're feeling. Right. And just once you get those first few incidents of doing that and putting yourself out there and figuring out, oh, I didn't die. I mean, my daughter's right here. My 16-year-old daughter, Sophia's here. And that's like a common thing in our family. It's like, you're not going to die. Everything's going to be fine.
We'll survive.
Because that's the worst case scenario, right? But, you know, when you're talking to young people, they're navigating life for the first time. You know, that's a very common human experience, whether you're a person that comes from privilege or not.
That's right.
Because, you know, and again, when you're a first generation person, you can't afford not to have this approach. Right. Because people of privilege have had, you know, decades probably of a built-in network. I remember, and you probably understand this, Brenda, all too well, when you're doing fundraising and you're hearing that this donor, their kid is interning, you know, in high school for their friend at Goldman Sachs. And you're just like, oh my God, you know, like that's amazing. They have a built-in network of people that they could tap in for their kids to advance their careers. So as first geners, we gotta catch up to that, right? And so we've gotta be triple as aggressive in establishing those mentoring relationships that will help bring that access that you talk about that's so important.
Absolutely. And that is not an easy thing by any stretch of the imagination, because you're talking about going way out of your comfort zone and way out of the networks you're used to being connected to, right? And that's another thing that you have to start thinking about. And this is your first step, right? Showing up to this event is your first step of taking chance and saying, all right, I might not know everyone, but someone in that room is gonna be way different than I am, way in another stratosphere than where I've been. And I'm gonna put myself in that space, and that's super important.
Do you know what's funny, Brenda? Is
Tell
when
me.
we were in the lavender room, when people were coming in, I was being very intentional about just scanning the room and seeing how you all were showing up in anticipation for this session. And I was observing some women that were like meeting other people, and then those that were just standing in the corner like, oh my God,
that's me.
I don't know anybody here. And that's more common than not, okay? Let's just call it out. That's more common than not. And so it's a very human experience, but I'm telling you, when you get into those rooms, just start to be that social butterfly. Even you fake it till you make it, right? You might not be a social butterfly, but just put the thing that you have in common, for instance, in this event, is we both care about female empowerment. So let's just start there. What brought you this event? You know, so anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself with the tips.
No,
and all that.
and I think that that's so amazing because of the two of us, I know I'm the natural introvert. Like, if you see Myers-Briggs, I pass the eye. Like, I am out there. And then I put myself in these situations all the time where it's so not I, right? Yeah. But one of the things that I do is I challenge myself when I go into rooms because I can literally, I wore this color to become part of the backdrop, right? This is really introvertedly intentional, right? And so one of the things I do is like, okay, Brenda, you've got to meet 5 people before you can even leave the room that you're sitting at. If not, you can't leave. And so the first few times I cheated, you feel so guilty. Now I have to meet 5 people before I leave. And most of the time I end up staying, right? So challenge yourself in those ways because it's so important.
It is.
Tell me, one of the things we know through research is 95% of the young people who have been mentored end up mentoring. With your vast experience, how do you show up as a mentor?
You know, so I have 4 mentees. 3 of them are lifetime mentees. Like I've known them since they were in college. And now they are these dynamic Latinas that are in the throes of their career.
Yes, they're going to be employing you in your 60s.
Yeah,
that's
right,
my
exactly.
goal too.
Or visiting me in the nursing home, one of the 2. And one that's a new mentee that I actually met her through a mentorship program that I signed up for called La Collective. And so, and you know, the way I show up for them, especially the 3 that have been lifetime, is similar to my relationship with Mary. Is like, it ebbs and it flows as far as the demand for your time, right? And being there and showing up for each other. And so, you know, whether, like with Natalie, my newest mentee, I'm a mom of 2 teenagers. We're in the throes of college search for my daughter. My husband and I have, you know, really big careers and that sort of thing. And so I do these webinars with my social media community. And we were about to discuss a topic that's really important. Natalie lives on you know how Puerto Ricans, we say el Jurutungo Perdido?
Yes.
Like on the other side of the city. And so, you know, it's challenging to get together. So FaceTime, texting a lot, voice memos. But for this webinar, I said, Natalie, listen, I'm gonna throw you a comp ticket, you know, online in terms of, you know, this link, go in, and we're gonna be discussing this topic. So I call it get in where you fit in terms of, you know, when you're intentional with your time, knowing that your mentee needs something from that particular topic. And the beautiful thing is now watching those 3 lifetime mentees have mentees themselves.
Absolutely.
It is a cycle of just knowing, you know what, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Mary and the way she showed up in my life. And so it is time to pay it forward. And, you know, I've got 4 young women that I'm just loving watching them blossom into their careers and into their identity.
And that's really amazing. And I have to tell you, I have, you know, 2 teenagers myself. It gets really busy, but it's never an excuse for being intentional and consistent.
That's right.
And so I often tell people, if you're seeking a mentor, just be really clear that's what you want.
Yeah.
Ask for it. And then you've got to follow through, right? Like, so the part of the bargain here is that I might be busy, but if we said 10 o'clock, it's because you're showing up at 9:59.
Can the church
right?
say
And
amen?
it's like, because we have to value each other's time, right?
Yeah.
And busy is a state of mind. I'm only busy with the things I want to be busy for. So if I've chosen that my busy is going to be you have to show up, right? And you have to be intentional. So that's also your obligation to the relationship that you're creating. And keeping that in mind, I think one of the things I love about Marshall as they're doing this work is they've really launched this like access gap research to really look at, you know, how women are navigating spaces, right? And really, why is it? And there's tons of research that will back what Marshall's has found already. When we look at executive leadership research right now and where women are in spaces, we are still not where we need to be in the C-suite, right? And one of the 2 things that are really challenging are having a mentor and building social capital. And when Marshall's does this research and looks at the access gap, they discover that 1 in 2 women, 52%, still don't have a mentor in their life, which correlates to 1 in 3 individuals in this country never having a mentor at all in their lifetime. And so if we know that that's an intrinsic and necessary part for becoming successful and maybe even seeing, right, the glass ceiling in the C-suite, right?
Yeah.
Or even visiting it for that matter. How do we start to change that trajectory? As you're doing your work and navigating the spaces in the nonprofit world and sort of your content creation, right? How you show up as a mom, right? As a wife, as a mentor. Tell me a little bit about how are you overcoming those obstacles? Because the reality is that you've hit the jackpot with Mary, but it can't just be Mary, right? And so how are you navigating that obstacle to find success?
So it's interesting, when I saw that data that Marshall's put out, I was like, I'm just curious, because I have a community of 500,000 amazing women in my social platforms, and I did a poll. And in my response, and I know that not everybody shows up into your stories and does a poll, but 75% of the women that I polled in my stories said that they do not have a mentor. So it was even more so in this community, and just interacting with women in the DMs, women in my day-to-day life. There's 3 things I typically see. Social anxiety, I'm an introvert,
No, you're not.
No, they say I'm an introvert, because clearly I'm in the Myers-Briggs, I'm clearly an E. The social anxiety. Also, I've had bad experiences with women in my past. So how do I even have trust to go put myself out there and be vulnerable and maybe get a no, or even worse, they say yes, but they don't really show up for me and they hurt me.
That's right.
And then number 3 is, I wouldn't even know where to begin, because my social network is not representative of the career trajectory that I'm trying to pursue. So these are the 3 things that I consistently see with women of color, first gen in particular. And what I've always said to my mentees and how I've done it is just, you know what? Always remember your why. Why is it that you're trying to pursue this career goal? What is that generational curse that you're trying to break in your family? Let that be the fuel that really helps push you to say, you know what? I'm going to get past this nervousness and put myself out there. And guess what? I know this is not going to be a very popular opinion, but I'm going to say it. Some of my mentors have been men.
Yes.
There are men that are out there that are allies, and they are more than willing to, mentor us. And I have been mentored by men in particular professions that I've wanted to break into, or social networks that I've wanted to break into, especially when you're fundraising. So that's the advice I always give, is remember your why and don't limit yourself, as well as, obviously, Mary's Latina, I'm Latina. Don't limit yourself even with race, just saying like, oh, well, this person doesn't relate to me, how can, I come from a completely different background. If you see that this person genuinely has an interest in your career development and your personal development, lean into that and establish that rapport.
And I love that. One of my first mentors I have to share with you is a Jewish man who taught in a Catholic school that I attended.
What?
Right?
There are so many oxymorons in that.
That's right, totally. He was my history teacher, and I had figured out how to ace his exams. But the reason that I went to the college I went to, the reason that I had someone to say, you're going to show up, here's how you're going to show up, is because he lit that fire, right? He saw all of me and was able to say, this is how you get through your yellow brick road of success, right? And went to my wedding, saw my children born, and when he passed, right? One of the things that happens in his memorial service is everybody said the same thing. He saw your potential. And so to your point, it doesn't matter how it comes, it's being able to make that connection and have someone see your potential so that you get to that point.
And that moment that person takes an interest in you, let that be the validating point that you feed your mind and your mindset that, wow, they see something in me. I might have some blinders on about even my own potential and talents. Believe it.
Yeah.
We talk to ourselves in such a negative way, and we have to reverse that.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, sometimes my daughters talk about themselves, and I'm like, who is that person?
Right.
I don't even know who you're talking about. Cut it out. Be kind to her, right?
Yeah.
And we have to learn to be kind to each other.
That's right.
My last question for you is this. Look, you're an entrepreneur, you're a mom, you're a wife, you do work, you're a mentor, you have fun. Clearly, you have a busy life. Yeah. There's this pesky little thing called work-life balance that everybody's striving to find. I have yet to find it. He's elusive. He keeps escaping me somehow. But to be a mentor, you have to balance it all. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how are you balancing it all so that you could do this type of work?
It's just giving yourself the grace and the understanding, knowing that, yes, you can have it all, but not all at the same time. Life be lifing sometimes, okay? Yeah. Earlier this year, I lost my mother. And so other things had to take the back seat for me to properly grieve, for me to, still show up for my family and do what I need to do. But we have to give ourselves the grace that sometimes work is going to take the front seat and, and be the lion's share of our time. And sometimes it's going to be personal. And so I just think we've got to just give ourselves grace and just know that it's going to ebb and flow.
I love that. And it's so true. And yeah. And I'm so sorry for your loss. I know how hard it is. And what I will tell you is this year's biggest lesson for me through loss has been I've been handed a lot of lemons, and I've figured out I can be sour or I could just make lemonade about what's in front of me, right?
That's
so there's been a lot of lemonade making lately. Yeah. And I think that's also a really important part of this is the mindset in which you go into things.
That's right.
In order to be able to navigate the balance, which you do so beautifully. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And so what I want you to know is that there are ways that you could create safe boundaries in having these conversations while being authentic and being real about who you are. And so often when we show up in scenarios, we are like, I'm Brenda Jimenez, CEO of Mentor New York, la, 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 la. But sometimes I start the conversation with I'm Brenda Jimenez, and my biggest challenge this week is that I couldn't raise enough money for the organization to make ends meet for our business. And people look at me and they're like, wow, you're a loser. It's like, yeah. But most of the time, what they do tell me is like, oh my God, that's so interesting. Do you know so-and-so that knows how to give money? Or there are days where you're just like, I did this amazing thing and nobody knows about it. And it's just safe to tell a stranger about it, right? And all of a sudden you connect around those things. When you're networking, when you're trying to meet people, your job is to be the curious learner. Your job is to ask the questions that are sort of like not typical, but that really help people, think about themselves differently. If you had no other way of failing for the rest of your life, what would be the thing you would do? That would be amazing to know about somebody, right? And so think about those things when you're in those small talk sessions. People are going to be taken back, but they're always intrigued by them. But it gets to the core of, is this person someone I want to be around? Yeah. Is this person someone I want to know? Is this person beyond what it is that they could give me professionally, someone that I could connect with and stay connected with? Because that's such an important part of those authentic relationships. And the other thing is we've got to put ourselves in spaces and rooms where we're uncomfortable and think we don't belong. Right. Social capital is not built in your 5 corners of the world. It's actually built when you take a plane to the other side of the world, right? And so if we want to progress as women and feel strong and powerful, you've got to put yourself out there. And you have the courage. Not only do you look fabulous, the Marshalls feel good, fabulous, right, reality, right? But you're also having the courage to go out and do this work.
That's right.
So I thank you very much for your time, Rebecca, and your amazing story. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for spending your morning with me. Have a wonderful day and event.